Peace to the family, peace, love, and light. Peace, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome. We got a special edition build for you this particular evening. This is a birthday build. This is a special one, but it's a very necessary discourse and dialogue that needs to be had. You dig? So, we're going to give it a second. Let the family get in the building. All right? Peace to the family. Peace, y'all. It's starting to turn. Thank you, family. Yes, we are celebrating, our born day. Me and my brothers, and there's other people, other Scorpios that celebrate today as their born day. I wanted to take today though for my particular born day to speak about the children around the planet, unfortunately, that are not gonna have the opportunity to see the ripe age of 48. As much ageism as there is in the community, as much age shaming, right? As much age shaming that's going on around the world, right? We really have to appreciate, the fact that we can make it to an age like 48. You know what I'm saying? I remember when 19 wasn't guaranteed. I remember when the age of 21 wasn't guaranteed. I remember when 25, was a hurdle to cross. And nobody in my immediate circle thought that we would make it to see 25, let alone 30, right? I remember turning 30, I was in a cage. And being broke at 30 gives a nigga the chills, as Biggie says. I remember that feeling, I remember deciding at 30, because I had already been like in the community, you know what I'm saying? I had already been on my journey, on my path, but my past caught up to me, you feel me? And I found myself in a situation at the age of 30, and that's when I really made that proclamation to myself. I was sitting in the cell, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not coming back to this. You know what I'm saying? Even if I have to go through rough patches. Like, what is a rough patch? We've all been through rough patches. But, going through a rough patch, attempting to do the right thing is totally different than going through a rough patch and you still throwing bricks, taking penitentiary chances. I am glad that I'm at this place in my life where I don't have to take penitentiary chances, and I'm even willing to do the rough patch, along as I'm still on that road to recovery. And what am I recovering from? My old ways. You know what I'm saying? So the celebration and the appreciation of life, at the ripe age of 48, I'm 2 years away from the age of 50. I want to tell all of the young bucks out there, this is what you should be aiming for. You know what I'm saying? It's, we have all been where, our younger brothers and sisters are at. That shit is going to dissipate very quickly. It's going to go like this. And the next thing you know, you're going to be on the other side of the tracks, and you're going to spend more time over here, right? Hopefully on the other side of the tracks than you do, in the fast lane of when you run through the 20s and the 30s. So appreciate that time. Manage it correctly. A lot of people would tell you, oh, you can freestyle with it. You know what I'm saying? No, you're not going to get that time back. You should be very intentional with this particular time. You know what I mean? For the things that you find that you have in abundance in your youth, you should expend your youth doing those things, using that energy up to do those particular things. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's life is different. So 20s and 30s for people can be very exploratory. You know what I'm saying? And we live in a society where they're condoning all levels of exploration. They're telling you, yo, it's okay. You could do X, Y, and Z, and you'll be able to rebound at a particular age. That's not true. You feel me? That's not necessarily true. The rebound is not necessarily accessible is not necessarily guaranteed. You feel me? I'm seeing a lot of people in their 40s walking around pushing the walkers, right? I just came from LA. People are younger and younger pushing the walkers, getting diabetes, being obese. You know what I'm saying? Us harboring what's considered to be pre-existing conditions. What do they call them things? You know, so it's not just enough to tell somebody who is considerably in their youth that they can expend the years of their youth being exploratory. You feel me? During these particular times, you will want to be just a little bit more intentional about the time that you have been blessed with and how you are properly utilizing that time. You know what I'm saying? And for the youngsters that are out there that are engaging in any level of ageism, you know what I'm saying? Because we have acquired some grays and some silvers in our biz. This shit is earned, right? You can't buy this, it's not given. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a given that you're going to live long enough to acquire this, right? Especially, on your terms, standing on, 10 toes, 2 feet like a grown ass man. That's not a given, right? Do not take for granted the years that you have been granted on this planet, the air that you breathe. Look, bar none, right? Nothing can surpass the excitement and the enjoyment of waking up to a new day. You know what I mean? And I don't know if this is me getting, more wise in my years. You feel me? But I no longer chase that high throughout the day because I cannot outpace, I can't outdo the gratitude that comes from me just being simply able to wake up. You feel me? I'm being in full transparency to say that I'm not responsible for that necessarily. Thank you, Brother Oba. Right? I'm not the one responsible for waking me up and arising. Right? That animating force, you know what I'm saying, that imbues my body with energy and life force that I'm able to wake up. That, bar none, is where the pinnacle of gratitude needs to be expended. You feel me? Especially if you want to continuously, bode your time here on this planet. You know what I mean? Extreme levels of gratitude. You feel me? Just from being able to wake up in the morning. That within itself is the most profound blessing. Right? I was granted another chance today to get it right. I was granted another chance today to learn something. I was granted another day to absolve myself from the weight of my past, things that still need to be dealt with, right? Things that still need to be worked on. You feel me? So the pinnacle of my gratitude, the pinnacle of my acknowledgement, the pinnacle of my excitement, the height of my day begins when I open up my eyes, right? That's when the full gratitude kicks in. I think that, I'm sharing something. So, if you feel a need to practice this particular regimen for yourself during the day, and my baby will tell you, I lay there for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Because I take it all in. And I marvel by the miracle of it all because I don't necessarily understand it. And I'm hearing more and more stories about people that are not waking up in their sleep. You know what I'm saying? And that's a very peaceful way to transition, granted. You know what I mean? But for those of us, we have all of these plans. You know what I'm saying? And we have visualized ourselves into the future because we got X, Y, and Z that we need to do. And for those of, the family that's out there that are actually parents, you got these children to watch after, right? You got this business that you standing on. You got these plans. You feel me? And then that's taken from you, you know what I mean, for whatever reason, right? You quote unquote, you get called home. So, yeah, full level of gratitude. I'm very thankful to the Creator that I was able to wake up today and enjoy the 48 cycle around the sun. I'm very grateful and thankful that my retardation, right, did not catch up to me. And I don't I don't mean to utilize that word as a slight to anybody that may be dealing with actual mental illness or any level of physical retardation. What I'm speaking about is, operating in a capacity where I was out of my mind. You feel me? Like, I almost was brought to tears today. I went to bring my mother her flowers, you know what I'm saying, because it was her birthday today. She was the one that birthed us. So technically the birthday is reserved for the mother because she's the one that actually, engages in the process of birthing. You feel me? This is our Earth strong, or our, solar return. This is our 48th cycle around the sun. But my mother has to be acknowledged as the principle that gave birth. So she was almost in tears, and she was like, "I can't believe it. You actually made it to 48. You lived a crazy life. With all of the things that you have seen and done in your life." And I thought that she was speaking about the positive stuff, the accomplishments. And I was like, "Yeah, I got a lot much more to go, Mom." You know what I'm saying? And she was like, "No, y'all was out there gambling with your lives every day, you know." And her solace at the time was Sabi, because she would be paranoid, I guess, about what we was out there doing, and Sabi would be the one to tell her it's okay. They're gonna come, back home. They're gonna come full circle. They're gonna come into their saneness, into their wits, right? They're gonna come into their mind. They're gonna understand what their calling is. Just allow them, what I'm saying, to be out there to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? But no mother's comfortable, knowing that their children is out there in the streets. You know what I'm saying? So my mother, I consistently have to apologize for putting her through unnecessary strain. You feel me? Unnecessary strain. Like, I can't fathom what mothers go through. I can't fathom what mothers go through. You know what I'm saying? When people are, you know, when they know that your friends are losing their lives, when they know that your friends are going to jail. I had to go and turn myself in 1995, and that's the first time that I saw my mother cry. Right, like real tears. You know what I'm saying? Like boohoo tears. You know what I mean? Because I just sprung it on her. She didn't even know. I pulled up on her. You know what I'm saying? I think we was going to the tunnel. It was a Sunday night because I had to turn myself in on Monday. And, I just broke the news on her. Like, yeah, I'm going to sentencing, you feel me, in Virginia. And I thought they was going to give me 6 months. They gave me 5 years. You know what I mean? Peace, brother Chaka. And it broke her down, and she shed tears. You know what I'm saying? I never knew how transformational a mother's tears would be. You know what I mean? Because it rocked me to my core. And it woke me up. That's the thing that sobered me up. That's the thing that actually made me smell the coffee and be like, yo, you out here, not only gambling with your life, but you're hurting people who love you. You're damaging people. And it's like I had smelling salt at that moment in time. Because prior to that, I was in a stupor. I had no idea who I was hurting, what I was doing, because I was living out my death wish. You know what I mean? So, you know, my mother, on a day like this, it really makes you acknowledge and think about the umis and the mothers who sacrificed and have given so much of themselves. You feel me? I was a breech birth. I came here breech birth feet immediately. So salute to Mama Pill for the sacrifice and the blessings. Shout out to my father, you know what I'm saying, for doing the right thing and making that decision. And they thank me for choosing them as parents. So it's a cycle of gratitude involved. And I thank you all, you know what I'm saying, for journeying with us and receiving any of this light, you know what I mean, and processing it and doing it, what was supposed to be done. And with that said, I want to utilize this platform on this evening to speak on some things, that are bigger than us, right? And yeah, we we present and deal with ourselves like there's nothing bigger in the world than us. You know what I'm saying? We are magnanimous individuals, but yo, the babies. You know what I'm saying? The babies, y'all. You know what I mean? And on our timeline, we have seen so much footage of, the loss of life with children. And it has been something that is reprehensible. But it has created, you know, it has it has created it's created a fractal conversation, right? Where people are like, what about the children over there? And what about, look, I want to say first and foremost, children everywhere. Like, children are innocent. You know what I'm saying? Children are innocent, right? So a life of a child is something that is precious. You know what I mean? A life of a child that looks like it could be my own child is even more precious because it's going to resonate with me personally a lot stronger. A life of a child here in this country, right, is one that should take precedence above all, because these are the lives that we have direct impact on, that we can, connect to. You feel me? All right, Chaka, I'm gonna send you a request, Chaka. Right? Children directly that are here in this country, we have a direct impact on and a direct responsibility, because these are our direct children. You know what I'm saying? Children on the continent, right? Especially the ancient seeds, that original seed that come from the Congo, that come from Sudan, and things of that nature. These children also should take uh, a direct precedent in how we're processing what's being told to us, and what's being told to us and shared to us, especially as of lately, more so on social media, that there's a genocide that's taking place on the continent with melanated people, children specifically, for mineral resources to do the things that I'm doing right now, which is utilizing technology, right? We know that our brother is directly on the ground, you feel me, and physically immersed in this particular situation, right? So I want to get a direct account from you, Brother Shaka, as to what's been going on, and more so importantly, how can the people actually do something? Because a lot of emotions have been impacted and ignited, by these conversations that are taking place. But I think the people more so want to know what is it they could possibly do.
Um, First of all, I just want to say blessed Earth Strong to you and your
Yeah,
brother on the
thank you, my
Earth
brother.
Strong. You've been,
Yes,
you had a good day.
I had an amazing day. I had an amazing day. Yes,
Nice. Um, how many revolutions is it around the sun now?
48.
48.
Yeah,
Yeah,
44
man.
plus 4.
Coming
That's
into
side.
that. Into that. I mean, 40 is in Kemet. You're over the hill, so you're over the hill of knowledge, and everything now should be easier because you are wise enough to know, but you are still young enough to do, you know? So,
Right. Yes, like that.
so that's good. Uh, I think this this current climate of the awakening, the realization of the destruction of Western imperialism, uh, Knights Templar, Westphalian, Germanic capital systems of rule and control is now being revealed to the world through digital mediums in a way that has never happened before. And those digital mediums have been created from minerals from Central Africa. Like, you can't make it up, you know.
Right.
It's where life originated from. Is the has created the tools for people to be able to see their fuckery, you know. And I feel like in order for people to be able to make a change, because in Congo, I feel like the rest of the world, or the west of the world, needs to change the way that they do business with Africa, but Congo in particular, because they still go into Africa and create systems of exploitation so that the West can have record profits for their shareholders, where you know whether or not we agree with India, or we agree with Japan, or we agree with, I don't know, Turkey and their engagements with and in Africa, when they come to Africa with a proposed loan or a proposed business plan, and then the African leader says, no, I don't want that. Then they say,
Right.
okay, cool, and they'll come with something else, right? But, and this is the big but,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to European, Eurocentric people, when they come to us with their plans and their schemes and their isms and their schisms, and we're like, yeah, no, we don't want that. They're like, okay, we're going to invade you, you know? We're going to invade you. We're going to put the CIA in. We're going to destabilize you. We're going to make sure that people can't survive where you live, so that we can have overconsumption in North America, in Germany, in Australia, etc., etc. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that people are now globally more able to see. But still, there's still not the realization by the whole world that the largest humanitarian crisis on earth right now is happening in Central Africa. The rest of the world is seemingly oblivious to it. And we have a country where a quarter of its population is starving right now today. That's similar to like ancient Rome type of situations, right? Where a quarter of its population is starving, 50% of the population don't have access to drinking water, 70% of the population don't have access to electricity, and 7 million, nearly 10% of the entire population of the country is displaced. And if you look at what was done from 1885 to 1908, when King Leopold colonized it, he halved
Yeah.
the population from 20 million to 10 million, I think, or
Right.
I think he even killed more. It's difficult to be able to say specifics, but he halved the population of the country. Now the country
Right.
is at 100 million, but where you have 20, when you have like 26, 27 million starving to death, at the same time as you have 7 million people displaced, and a lot of those people who are starving to death are displaced. You have a country that has 100 million population that faces extermination of a quarter of the population of the country. If, to put that into perspective, if that was the USA and 100 million people was just going to starve and die, there would be there'd be an outrage around the rest of the world. But because it's Central Africa, and because they have paid black people to do it to black people, right? And this is the Clinton administration actually funded what is going on now in Congo, right? Because they've paid black people to do what is happening now to black people, everybody just looks at it like, oh, it's those Africans killing each other,
Yeah.
like it's some kind of civil war.
Right.
It's not a civil war. It's not a civil war. There's nothing civil about it. It's a genocidal, dictatorial, installed, how do I say? It is an extension of Euro modernity and Euro Western imperialist systems. That's what it is. It's
Right.
not a civil war. It's nothing. There's nothing about it that's civil. It's America. It's America, and
Empirical
everybody wants to.
conquest. Yeah, it's empirical conquest, and they're utilizing them as proxies to fight a war for resources. As we can clearly see around the world, how they utilize proxies. We got to use these examples, right? The U.S. is utilizing Ukraine as a proxy to fight Russia, right? So we have to explain to people what proxies are so they can understand, like, okay, yeah, the colonizer is hiding behind, you know what I'm saying? And they're supplying what's considered to be, resources. And these resources, we're talking about armaments for people who agree to fight their wars to fight them, and they agree based on promises that are either made or what have you, promises and partnerships. Um, we need to give some historical context to this as well. Congo has been in this position many occasions, all the way back to the 1500s when they was looking for Prester John and they came through the coast. And the Portuguese in particular, they could not penetrate the interior, so they fought a lot of these coastal wars. And because they couldn't penetrate the interior, they would get the tribe that's beefing with this tribe, you know what I'm saying, to do their dirty work. And then they would decimate whoever is left standing, right? And then get somebody else to side with them and then go further and further and further. So they have been enacting this since the 1500s, flying different banners, if you will, right? And then the Leopold thing happened and it blew everything out of the water with the Belgium. So here we are today, right? And his trade that he was exploiting at the time was rubber. Right now it's cobalt and coltan, which are the rare minerals that are utilized to power technology. These phones, these computers, and if I understand correctly, as well as the EV/green revolution is coming, right?
Right.
So they are contingent and dependent on them. I read an article recently where the U.S. said we're late. You know what I'm saying? They said that they're late coming to this race, and they flew into a 5-star hotel at the time that was in Congo. I forgot exactly which one it is or where it was at. But the Kimbe was there. He had his team, right? Eric Prince was there with Blackwater. He had his team. The Chinese was there with their team. Everybody was there ready to play ball. But here America goes late to the party, and they cannot, it's not in their best interest to lose this particular race. But here's the problem. Because America puts up a front for this particular country and the citizens of this country, it's not in the best interest of the citizens that their country lose this race either. So I had made a statement the other day, and it bothered me through the night, and it bothered me, and it followed me, throughout the rest of the week. And it was that, our people really don't care about those babies. You know what I'm saying? And it hurt me to say that. It hurt me to say it the way that I said it. But I really believed it. If the option was for them to not be, citizens and people of this country, especially even the ones that look like me and you, to say, yeah, are you willing to be on, 2G, Razor flip phones as opposed to iPhone 18 or what have you?
Right.
They're gonna be like, I'm gonna need that iPhone 18 with the hologram by any means. I don't even need to know what's going on. Just give me the phone. So, I made this observation, especially seeing what happened recently in hip hop, when we attempted to create a level of accountability for the rappers, and their response was the way that it was. I was able to see the comparison with what's going on in the world. I'm like, these are melanated bodies with Zionist minds. So you've been in the proximity to the colonizer for so long, right? That now that mentality has seeped into our brains, and we have become composites of the very thing that we claim to say that we hate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're miniature versions of that. So again, attempting to get our people to care about anything, right? Because they're not willing to even tell the rappers over here. Because the people will be like, oh, this baby's dying over here. Y'all niggas don't seem to care. If you are saying that our streets and our music and our entertainment and our airwaves are being held hostage by an overweight dude who used to be an ex-CO, right? Another dude with dusty braids who don't even know what fiat is, but he's talking about what money is or isn't. And another nigga who's a snitch. So it's like, if you're not even willing to rise up against this and be like, nah, we need some more accountability. These babies is out here dying. If the people ain't gonna fight for their own children, right? What is going to inspire them to put up a fight for children that are over there in the Congo, right? That for whatever reason, we're not getting the visual support to see this. even though this is connected to technology, we you know what I'm saying? Like how they seeing what's going on in Gaza, even though they said that them people don't got the internet, but there's new pictures on the internet every day. That's a whole nother story.
Right. Um, I think it's going to be difficult to get any melanated people with a lower vibration or a lower level of consciousness to care about anything, right? And at least we have parts of our community, our global community, that is awake and is pushing an alternative, which is, you know, our our struggle is our shared struggle. You know, Ubuntu. I am because we are. You are because I am. Right? But it's still not the dominant philosophy. The dominant philosophy is white capitalism, and
It
most
is.
of us ain't
You
willing to
gotta
call
get
that out.
mine. You better get yours. That's the dominant philosophy, unfortunately.
Right. But most of us ain't willing, and even the ones that know, because they benefit from these systems, ain't willing to call it out. So it's like they say that the more that you have, the less that you can say. The more that I've got, the more I've said. But I'm also not trying to be out here shucking and jiving. I'm trying to build. And so when you have a group of people who have created their wealth on selling out, as in, I say their wealth, their riches. They're not wealthy, they're
Right,
riches. They've
right.
created their riches on selling out. Then when you try to get them to buy back in, they're going to be like, well, what are you asking me to buy into? Because, you know, y'all ain't got no money. Y'all ain't going to give me no brand partnerships. Y'all ain't going to give me the Range Rover and the Rolls Royce and the da 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 da. So I think the only thing that we have really right now is education and also social peer pressure. Like cancel culture doesn't really work in our culture because immediately after that person is cancelled, they're back up again because they have white systems propping them up, right? They don't have to live where we are. They don't have to. They don't make money from us. They don't make money from black people. Now, if this was China, for instance, couldn't happen. If this was India, couldn't happen, right? Because the only people that they're making or they're able to make money from is themselves. So they have to hold each other accountable. Whereas our leaders aren't held accountable by us because our leaders are propped up by systems of white imperialism. Most of our leaders are by definition sellouts because they don't represent the people. Like I saw a long time ago, State of the Black Union, Tavis Smiley, 2005, I think it was. And there was a sister, I can't remember her name, but she was saying, we don't have black leaders anymore. We've got leading blacks. And leading blacks will lead you anywhere. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right? Black leaders are going to lead regardless of whether white people like them or not, right? So when you have all of these politically correct black leaders who say all the right things and make everybody feel good about themselves, they ain't leading us nowhere apart from to damnation and to hell because they're scared to call out the problem that makes most of us suffer because they've achieved a position of privilege where they're never going to suffer again. So they don't represent us anymore. Like, I want my leaders to have suffered and I want them to still be in suffering, at least, so that I know that they're on my team, right? Or at least they carry the spirit and they speak for the voiceless, right? We don't all need to be broke, you know, you don't have to be broke. But if you are only advocating for white capitalism, you're only advocating for everything else apart from your own economy, then you are broken. You might be rich, but you're broken. And your spirit is broken because when I speak to people and I look them directly in their eye, I can see their spirit. And a lot of them, uh, a lot a lot of the people who are in the greatest positions of power in our communities and greatest positions of influence,
Right.
they are either devils or they have broken spirits. As simple as that. They can't look me in the eye and hold a conversation with me, an honest conversation with me,
Right.
because
Or do they
when
make
someone
good on their promises to you? I'm not, my apologies for cutting you, good brother. I just wanted to get
Yeah,
that
no, for
aspect
sure.
of it as well. Are they men and women of their word?
I mean, you can't be a representative of a people if you're making agreements that don't include the people. Now the people of now you're in a position to lead the people, but you've made a bunch of agreements with a bunch of people who basically are buying you to sell them out. So you've made agreements to get to that position, and now you're in that position. You have to honor those
So,
agreements, or you'll get killed by
so
the Zionists or whoever.
right. That then the next question would be, you know what I'm saying? Are they even in positions to help, or have their previous agreements, you know what I'm saying, compromised that level of integrity? Whereas if they do attempt to buck the system, they got to look like a Kanye West and just throw it all to the wall.
I mean, I think, I think, I think there are some, but remember, all of our great leaders and all of our great revolutionaries, they were hated all the way until they died by the
Right.
system. They were hated by the system because they were anti-system, you know. And when you're anti-system,
Anti-compromise, right?
right? Some get pacified in their older age, get compromised, but the ones that didn't, the ones that are our heroes, the ones that laid down their lives. I'm not necessarily saying all the ones that died. Some of them went to prison. Some of them, sacrificed their money. Some of them had families that never saw them, right? So there's different, deaths and there's different sacrifice.
Right.
But ultimately, if there's a power dynamic and you're at the bottom of that power dynamic, right? And you're supposed to represent people at the bottom of that power dynamic, then you now living this perfect life shows that you don't represent any people apart from the ones at the top of the power dynamic. Because how is your life perfect, but the people that you're representing are still living in suffering? So I always look sideways when I see people kind of talking about, you know, um, we together, Africans and Pan-Africanism and Afro-Indigenous people around the world and Afro people and black power. But I see them with white people all the time. They got white handlers, they got they're in white establishments. And then when it comes to actually saying what needs to be said, they're very political. They're very cautious about what they say. Like, even though I know a lot of the stuff that Malcolm was saying was well thought out, he would just go off the top of his dome a lot of the time. And that's what I trust. I don't trust somebody who has to make sure that every single group that is watching them is pleased with what they say. I want to hear that, because you cannot lead a people if you pander your principles to political wind. You can't lead a people, you know.
Well, can we agree that maybe the age of leadership is over with? Because we have not seen, individuals that you are describing come forward in quite some time that have made, and I think that the matrix responds accordingly. The revolutionaries have not responded or updated their approach to how to infiltrate and integrate into this particular system. And when I mean integrate, meaning in going inside of the matrix and pulling some nuts and bolts out to compromise the machine.
Mm,
The machine already knows that you coming and it has already prepared for you,
right.
right? The machine has updated itself. So, and now the machine requires a level of loyalty, and it has created these particular barometers called political correctness, where, like you said, now someone has to feel like, oh, I gotta please everybody in order to maintain this particular stature on this particular platform. But who amongst us, especially in terms of entertainment, has come out and said, "Yeah, I'm for the people. I'm a leader of the people." I don't think that we've seen that in quite some time.
Right.
So we don't even know what it would look like nowadays for a person to take that particular stance. Like they gave you a Kaepernick, or they gave you a Kyrie. They give you different semblances of what it looks like when a person is fed up and they want to take matters into their own hands. But are they properly trained on how to asymmetrically do what's considered to be for lack of a better term, and I'm just saying in the scope of public sentiments, guerrilla warfare, right? Not the physical aspect of them running plays, but when you on these particular platforms, it's still guerrilla warfare. You still gotta should be very strategic in how, what I'm saying, you're getting to the people and getting the message to the people and building up, these particular networks. So, and in the age of social media, right, which to me is almost like an open air prison like Gaza is.
Mm.
Because you under the impression that you might be getting away with something, right? But you're being monitored, you're being surveilled. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is pretty much, you know, you might as well be making your address at the podium in the Oval Office because, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's pretty much where you at with it. And granted, you you bring the energy or whatever, same as like you can experience as I've experienced, we shadow banned, we're censored, you know what I'm saying? They take or make every particular attempt to make sure that they marginalize our words. You know what I'm saying? So how does somebody get around that in this particular era, right? With the dynamics that we're up again, the quote unquote revolution has to be updated, right? To acknowledge the fact that we are in a different era.
Um, I think like you've. I think the euphemism guerrilla warfare is a practical, like, I think a practical application of subterfuge, because that's what it has to be. It has to be subterfuge, has to be sabotage, is being able to consistently be intelligent enough to see what the warfare is, the theater. When I was a soldier, they called it the theater, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
theater of war. To see what the theater of war is, to see what the violent landscape is, and continuously change tactics, continuously change your position, just like the Viet Cong did, just like the Frelimo fighters in Mozambique did.
Yeah.
Always
It's
be popping up
symmetrical.
somewhere else with some other tactic that counters their rule and control system of tactic. And if you're not thinking about it like that, then you are gonna die. Like, you'll die in social media, you'll physically die, you'll spiritually die, you'll mentally die. I see a lot of people who they had accounts, 10 years ago, and when Instagram first started, 12 years ago, whatever it is now, they were the guys, and then they got their accounts deleted, blocked, censored, blocked, deleted, and they didn't find a way to reinvent themselves. They didn't find a way to rebirth themselves.
Right.
They
They
didn't
didn't
find any new
reach
strategy of war. They just went, I'm going to keep posting these same memes, and I'm going to keep cussing out the system the way that I cuss out the system. I'm not going to evolve. And the system evolved, and they didn't evolve, and now they're dead. Like, where do we don't see them anymore. We don't see their accounts. They don't appear anymore. And as much as, I have a lot of people who don't like me, and I get it. I get why they don't like me. It's because I'm brilliant. But outside of that, I have consistently found a way to stay relevant and to stay visible, where there's all of these cloaks and all of these blankets and all of these things trying to be thrown on my head. Because as soon as I come and I start speaking to my people will listen. As soon as anybody that makes any sense in this for our people comes and starts speaking, and people can see their spirit, they will listen. And that's what they don't want. They don't want us to be able to speak to us. Because if that was the case, and it was just like a free, open space, right?
Right.
Then I would be way more popular than I am. I'd be way more known than I am, as would you, as would a lot of our friends, right? Way more visible, right? If we were some white social media influencer on TikTok or on Instagram, we would be, the amount of time that we've dedicated to social media, we would be multi-millionaires, 50 million followers. Like, it would just be like how they turn on the faucet for their people that they want to kind of elect as these brand leaders of white capitalism. If we were that, like some of the sellout Negroes that we see, if we were that, then we would have these big platforms. We only have, the platform is still bigger than most people's, right?
Right.
You know, you ain't got 4,000 followers, 5,000 followers, you're pushing 200,000 followers, but you have access to like 2% of those followers, right?
Right.
Because of the way that they've been running this system.
The algorithm.
And if I see people who are supposed to be leading us and they are not censored in any way, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Simple as that. The reason why I don't trust them is because they represent them, they don't represent us, right? And those kind of
What if they figure the algorithm out? What if their strategy is one where they figured something out? You know what I'm saying?
now they still need to be censored at some point, because eventually, whenever you get to the root cause, which is as the things that we've been speaking of, it is the things that fund the bombs that are being dropped on children all around this war in Ukraine. The weapons are turning up in Congo. Like, it is all of these things. When you get to, you know, the end of time, I don't know if you've been watching the series Loki. I've been watching the series Loki.
Yeah, I have,
when you get to the man at the end of time, you're always going to have to face the problem, which is the same thing that we've been discussing. And if you get to that point and you don't face it head on, then you're either sell out or you're scared. Either way, you can't lead me. So, and if you do face it head on, as we have and as we have been doing, then you'll be censored. And you might recover from the censorship, you know, you might come back and you might be seen and find ways to be seen. I'm always still finding ways to be seen. But if I never see you censored by this white establishment, then they love you. And if they love you, then you don't love me. That's
right.
it. It's that simple. If you ain't willing to sacrifice anything, right, for us, when we are the ones buying your albums, we are the ones, you know, promoting you, making memes about you, and talking about you to the rest of the world, but you're not willing to sacrifice anything for us. You're using these spaces to get into white spaces so you can get a brand deal, right? But you don't want to talk about the IMF. You don't want to talk about the World Bank. You don't want to talk about the Financial Action Task Force, which was established after 9/11 was created. We all know about that. The Financial Action Task Force then decided to create regulation to stop terrorism, what they call terrorism, which is basically anti-American imperialistic systems. Like, they killed Gaddafi, they killed Saddam, they killed, I'm not saying Saddam was a great leader, but they anybody who was anti them, they've got this whole campaign against Iran. They went and waged wars all across.
Anybody that's not down, just get down and lay down. So anybody that's not gang, they gonna roll on you.
Right. So this
Right?
Financial Action Task Force, you can Google it. This Financial Action Task Force literally went around the whole world and said to all of the banks around the rest of the world, we're going to have IMF and World Bank regulators to come and audit your banks and give you 40 rules or statutes that your bank has to adhere to in order for your bank to be able to be rated, like a rating system, so that you can actually do business on this global economy. It was just American imperialism. They were saying,
that's how they filtered in. They filtered in the rainbow agenda with that level of rating and criteria. That if you don't pass particular metrics, then they say that you are not, you know, you're not fit for business. We can't do business with you based on these ratings.
Right. And what is their business? It is exporting fiat currency around the world and violence. That's it. That's their business. Their business is not trade. Their business is aid under the subterfuge of
natural resources.
right.
Look, their business is imperialism, right? Based on empirical conquest. They are empire that are remnants of the initial particular empire, right? That Constantine initially put together, and this is just remnants of that. When he merged Christianity when he merged the church and state and created Christendom, and they've been rolling out ever since, doing empirical conquest and utilizing different things as shields. They use Christianity as a shield, right? Now they use aid as a shield, but it's all based on commercialism and capitalism. And capitalism is you know, They're here to take your mineral resources, right?
Right.
And utilize cheap labor to run up a bag. So again, with us knowing that, but also realizing our participation in it. You
Right.
feel me? Because the ethos of hip hop has already seeped into people's mentality with that's we're raising our children like Cabbage Patch Kids to be participants in the system. We have not introduced a concept of anything that is counter to that or greater than, nor have we given the proper education to say this is exactly what it is. So once again, we have melanated bodies with a Zionist mind, right? And if you have been properly indoctrinated in this country and abroad on Americanism, which is the largest religion, then you also are adherents to the system. So how do we exercise this demon? You feel me? And become people who could be in service to our higher calling, our ancestors, and something that is outside of the scope of capitalism and commercialism, because everybody that I know want a bag.
Right. Right. It's like people want a bag more than they want. People want a bag more than they want respect.
They think the bag gonna get them respect. That's how they were indoctrinated and programmed and taught. Because we're seeing people once again, a dude who was an ex-CEO get to the bag and he got Pixie Stardust, and he's able to sprinkle it over everyone's collective memory where they forget that he was a CEO. Now they're looking at him like he was he was a Pablo Escobar type, yeah, he was the freeway Ricky Ross. So when
Who?
people are looking at this level
Oh,
of
Rick
magic, because
Ross.
that's exactly what it is, take place, and they're mesmerized by the mirrors and it's all magic, it's all magic
Hmm.
tricks, it's illusion. Yeah, and Jim Jones, his namesake is literally the person that had people drinking Kool-Aid, which is also the color red, right?
Hmm. And it's made
So
from white
where
sugar, which is the
Yeah,
white
so
devil.
we see ourselves here where we are in close proximity to people who are known sellouts, turncoats, you feel me, and will selling people down the river and have named themselves after these same particular prototypical people, right? We find ourselves in a quagmire like, damn, how do we get up out of this? So what do we do? Because before I can become accessible and useful to a baby in the Congo that's so many thousand miles away, I gotta watch this nigga, you know what I'm saying? This right beside or behind me, pause, this in my community, right? And he got a bunch of other people running around with dirty braids that look and think like him because he done indoctrinated them with that particular mental download.
Right.
So the revolution has to start at home.
Right. Well, where we're having children miscellaneously, and the fathers ain't raising those kids as they should be raising those kids, because it's like we as black men, we have to make a choice in life. Either you're gonna fight or you're gonna lay down and be a puppet or a sheep. And if you're gonna fight, it doesn't just mean going in the streets and fighting. It means fighting to keep your family together and take care of your kids properly. It means fighting to be able to provide for your people, for your family first. It means making sure that you have kids that are reading books. Like, if you have a child that can't read, and a lot of us do, if you have a child that can't read, then you're going to have a slave waiting to happen. And if you decide that you're not going to fight, then when it is time for leaders to rise up, or the struggle is happening, or or even the benefits after we have our land and our farms and our houses in Central Africa, East Africa, West Africa, don't speak and don't turn up, because we ain't going to listen to you. Because when it was time for you to do something, you was there just being lost in the sauce, and now you want to reinvent yourself and turn up and be like, yeah, I'm here. If you are not giving your child a naming ceremony, right? And if you're just having a kid, fucking someone, having a kid, and seeing what happens, then you're setting that child up for failure, you know? And
um,
we're setting our kids up for failure by being mediocre. We have to be brilliant. We can't be half. We
again,
have to be brilliant in
you
everything
know,
we do.
I think this is where the education comes in, and this is where I acknowledge your role in the fact that because you are 10 toes down, and the fact that you are on you're over there, and you do have access to the cameras. You know what I'm saying? Um, we need to humanize our people's experience more and put it in front of, our family over here so they can have that connection. Like they probably don't even understand what a naming ceremony, what the benefits of that are, or how to go about doing it. You know what I mean? So that education has to take place to be like, this is, oh damn, he just dropped. Hopefully he'll be back. All right. Hopefully our brother will be back very soon. But what I'm saying is that, it's very easy for us to say what we need and versus what we don't need. And I think that the things that are being suggested would definitely be beneficial, specifically and especially, if we went about the business of strategically and intentionally naming our children other than naming them Cavassier and Alizé, you know what I'm saying, and Lexus and Barquisha, no disrespect, you feel me? But you know, you are, you're gonna resonate with your namesake. You feel me? You're gonna resonate with your namesake. So you should do everything in your power to know what that name means, and you ultimately will live up to it. Let me share something with you that the I heard from a rabbi. The rabbi said that your mother is a mini prophetess, right? And with the rabbi, and this is, you can ask anyone who's adherent to Judaism if they was told this, if they know about this. And they said that your mother is a mini prophetess because your mother will intuit the name to put on the child. And the child ultimately will grow into that particular name or the purpose that's assigned to that name. Even if the mother doesn't initially know why she named the child, what she named the child, later on in life, when that child comes into the fullness of that particular name, attached with that particular personality and that purpose, the mother might be, in her graying age and realize, oh, this is why I named you. And she can't even explain why she named it. They said it is whispered to her, that's on her heart. You know what I'm saying? And it is expressed through the mother, through the child, thus making her a mini prophetess, you know? So, yeah, I think that was some wonderful advice that our brother shared with us about the need and necessity to have naming ceremonies. But we got to show our people here how to do that. You know what I'm saying? It was explained to me like the child should not be named for the first 7 days. You can't tell a black woman in America that. You can't.
We spent our whole life deciding that name already.
Yeah, like not only that, they're not gonna allow them. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna leave the hospital and the baby's gonna be baby X. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or even if you have it at home and then the whole family want to know, you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's a bit. We not gonna know until 30 days because we got this whole ceremony put together. And I'm like, it can happen, but we need to be culturally appropriated in these new ways and means that we go about doing whatever it is that we choose to do for ourselves that is consistent with our indigenous cultures. And it don't gotta be you know what I'm saying? Like, don't hit me with the I ain't from Africa, so I ain't doing that. Like, all right, so what did y'all do here? Right? What was your indigenous cultures here when it came to naming ceremonies? Because with all them colorful ass names that I be hearing that these indigenous people have, I know that shit wasn't happenstance. They be like Chief Redwood, Flowing Water, Flying Eagle, you know what I'm saying, Turtle Crawling. I'm like, yo, that's bad deep. How did that come about? When I was being born, you know what I'm saying? These are the things that was observed that was taking place at that time. So it's meaningful. It has, it has context to it. You know what I'm saying? Just like Alizé and Hennessy and Lexus and you know what I'm saying? What's some other ones I'm missing? It got that shit got context too. I was in a strip club, right? We had, we the same people in a whole different positions and situations that we find ourselves in, right? So our context is different because our observations are different because our environments are different. You dig what I'm saying? And we shouldn't be held to fault for it because them babies with them crazy names are still beautiful babies at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I have met some amazing Alizés and Lexuses, Armorettas and all of that. I done met some great ones. You feel me?
Naming your babies anything nowadays. They naming their babies like pets now.
Are they naming them after pets now?
No, I'm saying like how you would name your pet. That's
Right.
how people is naming their kids.
Yeah.
Air.
Blue Ivy. North Star.
Yeah, nah, Northwest.
Northwest. Right? Shout out to Northwest. You're a legend, Northwest.
Echo.
Northwest. I had seen you in my Kabbalah teachings a week with the Northwest shit. That's deep. I'll get back there. Anyway, yeah. So we go about it. We go about it how we go about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to bring shame to who we are, what we do, because bar none, you know what I'm saying? We are still the most amazing people on this planet, even in our slumber. You know what I'm saying? We the most amazing people, bar none. You know, um, I guess this just a clarion call. You know what I'm saying? For us to take ourselves as serious as we want to be taken. How about that? You know, take ourselves as serious as we want to be taken. You know, and the mind of the melanated woman is a beautiful mind. So she's gonna conjure and come up with stuff. And I believe, yes, even in her stupor, you know what I'm saying? Even in her sleep and her slumber, she's still able to spin something that is consistent with her being a mini prophetess in the long run. Like the name can be like Alizé, Hennessy, Cartier, but if you add that shit up in gematria, it's like it's the same number as Offset Ma'at segment. Watch. Let's run the play. Let's run the play. If y'all know I'm sending my way, I'm gonna do their numbers, and we're gonna show that behind the name, the numerical value still denotes that she's genius. That she's genius. Yes. Facts. Right? I ain't closing the door. I'm not counting you out. You know what I'm saying? I guess this would be the time to go into, you know, the scientific research that says that women with more wider hips and a superior posterior, they have more intelligent children because they're able to afford those children. They're able to push out babies with larger craniums. And, you know, science has shown that cranium size equates to intelligence because you got access to, you know, house more gray matter. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you know, y'all got it going on. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate that, you know, we are in this level of age of darkness that we in, and we can't, or you can't see your beauty for what it is. You know what I'm saying? But we shall not ever, we let us not, you know, we shall not go blind in that regard. We got to keep the lights on and remind you who and what you are. You know what I'm saying? Every opportunity that we get. But I wanted to say this, you know, because again, like I said, they said, yo, y'all focusing too much on these babies that's not y'all babies. You know what I'm saying? And it's babies dying over here. And y'all worrying about babies in the Congo or babies in Gaza or babies in the Sudan or babies in Ethiopia or babies in Eritrea. Oh, hold on. Now I want to make this connection and this correlation that in all of these places that, you know, people are vying for where was the first place on the planet that, you know, life existed or melanated people was at. Some people would say what's considered the Middle East now is Northeast Africa, right? They call that the Fertile Crescent. Some people would say that's where we come from. Some people would say the Sudan, definitely, right? They would say that that is the cradle of civilization. Some people would say here in the Americas, right? Whatever you come up with, right? We see this correlation to wherever the most ancient people is at. That's where people is dying right now. That's where bombs are dropping. That's where destruction is happening, right? And we can't afford to ignore any of them because all of it is connected, right? And let me not say we once again because I don't speak French. I'm choosing in my purview to make a observation of them all, but also those regimes over there, they're at war. They're dropping bombs, right? There are war and rumors of war, things that are made to look like civil wars taking place. Niggas got rocket launchers, you know what I'm saying? Surface to air missiles, tanks, M4s, AR-15s, all of that, right? But then you get over here, niggas is drilling. So they got military grade weapons. At most, they might have a rocket launcher. I remember which one of them? Rondo number 5 or number 6. One of them niggas had a rocket launcher. He looked like one of the Wayans in Don't Drink Your Juice. Yeah, it was like a scene out of that, right? He had a rocket launcher and shit like that. Niggas ain't launching rockets and all of that. Cut that out. You got handguns and you got small arms. You know what I'm saying? And we are, you know, we're marauding one another over here. You know what I'm saying? Based on ignorance. You feel me? But our communities are held hostage by entertainers who are making soundtracks for this music. So before you say, yo, but there's babies dying over here, granted, but when grown folks stand up to say something about it, right? The people don't hold them down. And you not up against armies and regimes, you up against some niggas who are fronting, pretending to be something that they're not, but your children don't know the difference because they're impressionable and the shit is coming over on the beat. So if you don't got no smoke for these rapper cats, if you can't move them out the way, if you cannot hold them responsible, and they have got so comfortable that they believe that they're beyond reproach, so you can't even say nothing to these niggas. Let's think about it. Look at what happened with Joe Budden and Drake, right? Oh, so you can't say nothing to a nigga, right? You can't say, and these, because you could consider them peers amongst peers. They both rap, they're in media, and they know one another, right? So that was the first example. Second example would be DJ Academics with the City Girls. Oh, so you can't say nothing to these people, right? Or everybody loses their shit. And then Saucy Santana comes out and said that he's going to physically assault this man, sexually assault him, right? So, like, where you do that at on the internet? Like, if that was the reverse, you would get a hate crime, right? The feds would be knocking at somebody's door. So we got two main examples. Look at the fragility of the culture. I want to show you where this shit is at. Because these are the niggas that's holding your babies hostage, and these is weak ass niggas. You ain't talking about Hamas and none of that shit, right? You talking about some niggas that's bunny humping or bunny hopping with billionaires getting sandwiched, right? On camera. Let alone if the nigga had a deep fake of him giving top piece to another man. He could say that that's deep fake, but we seen you getting sandwiched by a dude that hang out with Dwight Howard. Okay? And another dude who's a Zionist, right?
But you ain't cursing the nigga out
right?
That was sandwiching you.
We seen that. You can't say that was deep fake.
Nigga that hugged you from behind. You ain't have a problem with that.
Yeah, a problem with that, right? And then D1 says something on this platform, on a national platform, you can do better, right? How can such a statement as you can do better elicit the responses that it got from these grown-ass men who went to threaten in this man's life in very passive-aggressive, subtle ways? Oh, I got a cousin that might want to smack you. That's a veiled threat. That's a veiled threat. You feel me? That's what Jim Jones' response was. Rick Ross' response was egregious as well. The only one who came with a level of sanity involved in the situation was the initial target, who was Meek Mill, who got to saying, you know what type of music I make. So, nigga, don't expect nothing from me but this gutter ratchet shit. Because when I say the whole thing, when I attempted to make positive music, it wasn't respected. And y'all didn't give me my streams. Just like Rick Ross. Oh, I didn't forget Black Dollar. I didn't forget the mixtapes that you had when you was attempting, because at the time the conversation around the community was black responsibility and black economics and BLM shit. I remember Rick Ross when you tried your hand, when you had your case and you wanted to clean your content up. I remember when you was a little less aggressive and you was more so talking about us as a people. I remember the Master Fard song and everything that you did with Busta Rhymes. I remember all that. So it ain't like it ain't in him to acknowledge, right, that he know that there's a balance that's needed. But when the young man made the comment, immediately they go to the comparisons. Yo, what's your streaming numbers? How many albums did you sell? What sort of audience do you pull out, right? No, this nigga's a community activist. Like, every time I seen him for the last 15 years, he was in the community doing something for the community. And he's a fucking teacher at Harvard, right? And why should somebody have to have all of this criteria laid out and accredited for you to hear what they're saying, if they're saying it on a national platform and what they're saying is very clear and direct? He ain't cut his teeth and say nothing, but nobody answered him where he was at other than Meek Mill. And Meek Mill was like,
I feel like that's how they treat them.
That's exactly how they treat them.
They won't listen to you unless you got a certain amount of streams of Spotify.
Right.
You under their criteria, it's like, oh, I made it. So
right.
What's your criteria?
Right. So they're playing ladders over there in the industry, right? It's a caste system.
And it goes back to what you was
right.
saying. They become the same people.
Right. Because it's about, right? Oh, you're not in my tax bracket. So it's just classism. It's a caste system dealing with classism. You feel me? And they're thinking and acting and speaking directly like the Zionists, who have abused them every opportunity and chance that they have denuded their masculinity and their manhood from them by making them feel like they're not equal or worthy enough. And that's why they come back on wax and talk to y'all like y'all shit, right? Because that's the only way that they can build and prop themselves back up from being denuded when they get into these rooms with these men, these white men who be like 5 foot in stature, 120 pounds soaking wet, right? And they talking to them crazy. I'm telling you, because I was in the meetings. I was in the meetings.
And you can't just go across the table and smack them.
You cannot. You gotta quote unquote take all of that pause.
Literally.
I was in meetings and Big U was in the meetings with us, right? This is when we was negotiating Nipsey shit. Nipsey was not allowed in the meetings for his own project or his own music. That's not how it works. The artists can't come to these meetings. Management, CEOs, and then the dude that came down, this was Sony Epic, right? His name was Adam. He was a real estate agent, right? A Zionist. He was the banker. About this tall, this big. You feel me? And he calling all the shots. He don't got no background in music whatsoever. He's just cutting the checks. You feel me? And can't nobody talk to him outside of whatever the perceived respect level is, right? And they got Big U there for, I don't even, because you can't even intimidate them at that level. They're not trying to hear that shit. They'll call them aside on you, right? The gang shit works with the gangs and niggers in the street. That shit does not work in corporate America when they call in the real gangsters who will fucking clean your clock.
That's the real tea.
You know what I'm saying? So, homie was there, he was there, but it ain't like, there was no gangsterism taking place in the boardrooms. You feel me? There was no gangsterism taking place in the boardroom. whatsoever, and they was talking to them crazy. You know, I often tell this story. It was a European lady who was telling the CEO of the company at the time. She was like, he can't say nigger more in his musical, bitch, and we'll buy him Cuban links if he takes that Malcolm X chain off. I was there, so this ain't even up for argument. And this was 2008 or 9 or some shit like that, right? So
Everybody in the club.
yeah, and later on you get to see that's what this is the same room, and these are the same executives who Bobby Shmurda will be getting on the table and dancing for a few years later, right? It's the same shit. That was so negrified, it caught them off guard. They was like, well, goddamn. They was like, we used to doing shit a little bit different, but we let this nigga up in the room for his meeting, and this is what he do. Because remember, like I said, the artists don't come in for their meetings and shit. That's not how that works. Hmm? Dinner for schmucks. Yes. So, you know, my thing is this, you know, and this is for the parents and the people who domicile over here, right? Chaka, you don't got that other account don't work? Let me see. I'm gonna send you a request. You know, for the people that domicile over here, you know what I'm saying? The parents of these children, like, are you just going to sit back and allow your children to be held hostage and our neighborhoods to be held under siege? You feel me? By cross-dressing rappers who have already propositioned and put profit over the people. Because like I said, they are melanated bodies with Zionist minds. So they're only following the ethos of capitalism and things that are being taught to them by their handlers. And that's how their handlers teach them, this is how the world is run. You put profit over people. You know what I'm saying? So the Congo thing is deep. You know what I'm saying? The Congo thing is deep, you know, and it goes beyond, you know, we like putting up these numbers about 6 million people killed. No, like he said, there was 100 million people that were decimated by Leopold. So you got the Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo. You got two different Congos. You know what I'm saying? Congo used to be what Angola is today. Congo was massive. So since the late to the 1500s, they have been raiding the shores of the Congo. The Portuguese initially, you feel me? And they did a lot of egregious activities on them shores. You know what I mean? Snatching up what were considered to be slaves that were, you know, according to the narratives. You've seen the movie Woman King, so I'm not telling you nothing that's not documented out there and that you might already know. But, you know, these were prisoners of war that were given, you know what I'm saying, to the Europeans. They were paying them, you know, for goods. And allegedly, right? And they were sending them bodies over to Brazil specifically. You know what I'm saying? And this all comes out of the Papal Bulls, right? When the western part of the world was given to Spain and the eastern part was given to Portugal, but Britain and France and the rest of them felt left out, right? So they started warring and raiding and shit like that. But Congo been getting, you know, the short end of the stick for a while. And you know, initially they were able to flip their monarchy into Christianity from the door. And that had a large part to play with it as well, right? They embraced Christianity from the door. You know what I'm saying? And they put that on their people and they worked them niggas over with the missionaries. You know what I'm saying? They worked them over with the missionaries. And it was just egregious after egregious after egregious after egregious activity for them to chip away on different parts of that particular, you know, that portion of the continent. Because like I said, we're talking a massive amount of land. You know what I mean? That they was going back and forth. looking to take control of. And then the the Portuguese got disrupted by who? Maybe you remember? It was the Belgium came later, but before it was the Belgium, the Portuguese got finessed by somebody else out of that position that they had to fight back. So, and then Leopold came in for the rubber and he killed off about 100 million people. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, you know, and then the corporations and there, you know, so this land mass has been getting exploited for a long time. But you know, these are ancient melanated people from antiquity, like hella old. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna save this live. I'm gonna stop it soon so we can save it. You know, thank you once again for everybody with the outpouring of love on the born day. You know what I'm saying? I want to redirect that energy towards Mama Pill. You know what I mean? And my father, Wayne Marlin. They're the true recipient. They should be the true recipients of this level of acknowledgement, because the birthday is the mother's. She celebrates, right? This is the day that she gave birth. This is our solar return. This is our Earth Day, the day that we came to Earth. You know what I'm saying? But the glory goes to the mother. You feel me? So it would be remiss to make that acknowledgement and not also be inclusive of my homie, Mama Pill, Annette Thomas. You know what I'm saying? She's the legend in this narrative, in the script. She didn't notice she was pregnant with twins. And she didn't have the playbook. You know what I'm saying? She didn't know anything about she didn't have no references. She didn't know any twins. She didn't know of twins. She might have seen, she told me today she might have seen two or three of them in her whole life. She like it was not common back then. You know what I'm saying? Especially where she was from. So she had to figure this shit out like right away. You know what I'm saying? And I think that she done a great job. You feel me? And yes, I was one of those children that harbored all sorts of, you ain't spend enough time with me out of all of my brothers and sisters. And, my mother dedicated the majority of her life in service to her mission with Dr. Sabi once she decided that that's what her mission was. And she did well for herself in terms of her accomplishments. She was the first person on this planet that we know of to cure AIDS, and Sabi gets the credit, right? Shout out to Sabi. But that's the way that shit works. You feel me? And she's cool with that, right? Because it was in the service of humanity, and that was her teacher. You feel me? And he threw her the case, and she knocked it out. You know what I mean? And she's done many and plenty of things, thus forward, going forward. You feel me? So she deserves the praise, and she was able to do all of that and still raise children, even with the help of the community in the village, because we are a consortium of the village, putting their hands in the pot to make sure that, what I'm saying, that we got what we needed. You know what I'm saying? When her hands were tied up doing service for the community. It ain't like she was over out freestyling and shit. She was working for the community. And this shit don't come with fringe benefits. It don't come with a severance package. It don't come with, you know what I'm saying? Social Security. You feel me? This is the shit that when you take on these tasks for this community, it don't even come with a thank you at times, right? That's why I'm in gratitude to see that things are changing for the younger brothers and sisters that are coming up, and they're making sure that their lot is different in life. They're making sure that they get what they deserve up front. You know what I'm saying? And they're making concessions for themselves. Shout out and salute to y'all. You feel me? Yeah. Understand that you're gonna have to do that. Unless you have an amazing support system that's gonna catch you every time that you stumble. You feel me? Yeah. The Affinis and the Asadas and everything. Like, this shit is not pretty at the end of the day. People love seeing it like it's entertainment, like go all out, right? We love the warrior woman. That's not really the place of a woman initially. But I can't say that. Understanding what our historic, because my shit is the continuance of the struggle. Like my research into our people deals with the struggle. I have not known a time when we have not struggled, right? And I'm an advocate. I believe in the soft life and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? But the war's over when the war is won. Simple as that, my niggas. You can take a motherfucking breather, you know, and get your petties and your manicures done, but the war still needs to be fought. You know what I'm saying? And until we are freed up and liberated mentally and physically, you know what I'm saying? This shit is not, it's not over. It ain't over till it's over, till the last soldier, you know what I'm saying, blows the last cloud of doja. So, with that being said, let me get back to this. I appreciate y'all. All right. Peace, love, and light. Shout out to the brother Chaka Bars. And again, I really wish that he could have left us something tangible that we can specifically do for some of these babies. I'm gonna hold them in our prayers. You know what I mean? And we're gonna continue this conversation. We're gonna come up with something tangible, hopefully, that we can do. It would be beautiful if collectively, as a community, we can dedicate to a school to get built or housing. You know what I'm saying? Or even armaments for them to be protected. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that shit. So, with that, yes, I want to say peace, love, and light.